Hello, my darlings. We are going to talk about the final pages of The Book Thief. If you have not finished reading The Book Thief yet, make sure that you go ahead and do that now, just because there's going to be some spoilers in this. So make sure that you finish the book, then come and watch the video. Okay, first of all, some announcements. You can redo any 75% that you have. Just make sure that you email me and let me know so I know to look for it. If you don't see it change fairly quickly, give me about till Wednesday because I've got to grade all of these. But if you don't see it change by Thursday, email me again, and just keep emailing me until you get it changed. There's so much going on in different things that it would be a huge help if you would nag me. Thank you. Second, make sure that you check out the summer reading document. Ask me any questions. Remember, this is your English 2 teachers assigning it, not me. So you will need to do it to be prepared for next year in the fall. Remember that your fourth quarter score, if it is less than quarters 1, 2, and 3 average, you will get a pass. So let's say that you had an A quarter 1, 2, and 3, and then for some reason you got a B in quarter 4. That means you will get a pass, which means fourth quarter will not affect your scores. It just shows that you've done your work. If, however, you've had a C all 3 quarters and now you have 100%, you'll get the numerical grade. So that 100% will be averaged into your 80%. So this is kind of a no hurt, only help situation. Okay, so now let's talk about the final Book Thief reading. It was a short one. You're welcome. So some things to think about. First of all, Liesl is saved from the bombings that come on Himmel Street because she was in the basement. And it was the one that they deemed too shallow to be used. So that's ironic that the place that wasn't supposed to be of use is what saved her. But there's some other things going on with the basement. The basement ends up being pretty symbolic. So remember, the basement once again proves to be a safe place. It's a safe place for Liesl to learn her words, and they write on the wall. It's a safe place for Max to live. And it's what saves her from the bomb. So the basement is a safe place. It's also a place of creativity and writing. There's a lot of like artwork and drawing and writing there, but it's also rebirth. When, both Max and Liesl, and to some extent, other characters as well, come down to the basement, damaged, hurt, sad, and then when they leave, they become better. So Max is struggling with survivor's remorse. He comes back out, at least willing to die alive. And Rosa comes down and she's all, like upset and angry. And then someone throws a snowball at her face and then suddenly she's in a good mood and she's building snowmans. It's a new side of her. So people go to the basement to start a new life when they come back out. And this happens for Liesl in a big way too, because of the bombs. Her old life with the Hubermans is no more, and she's going to have to start a new life. In the same way that Max did. He had to start a new life, going to the camps and experiencing the Holocaust in its extreme ways. Some other things to look at. Death talks about the different ways of collecting their souls. He talks about Rudy. He talks about Frau next door. He talks about Rosa and Hans and the Muellers. And each of their deaths in some ways, I think, represents their life. So look for that. Think about why that seems fitting. Some people are welcoming death once again. Who is welcoming death? And other people, they fight death. They resist it. They don't like it. Okay, so there are 6 things total. Number 3 to think about is Liesl leaves the book, which Death picks up. So she was writing in the basement about her life story, and she drops the book in that situation, and Death picks it up, which is, she keeps the accordion, which still seems to protect her. She takes the accordion with her, but her story is what Death takes. Death stole her book, which brings us back to the title, The Book Thief. Who is the book thief? Is it Death or is it Liesel? So we have another theft of books by someone who isn't Liesel, and it brings in a whole bunch of questions. The big one being, who is the book thief? All this time we assumed it was Liesel because she stole books, but Death stole her book. And if we're going to expand that definition, there were a lot of other people who stole books too. Hitler stole books. He stole the books of the people who were Jewish to burn them. Germany stole books of people who were Jewish and communist to burn those. So the book thief could be Hitler. The book thief could also be Max. He stole the pages of Mein Kampf to write his news story. So he stole Hitler's words as well. So he is also, considered a book thief. And once again, that should be in italics. I'm sorry. So what we have here is a title that really talks about a number of different people being book thieves when you think about it, as opposed to just one. Death picked up Liesel's story, and Death is the one to tell us her story. So what this kind of brings about is who tells whose story, and that's a pretty major theme. Max is frustrated because, well, actually, all Jewish citizens are frustrated because Hitler has told their story and he has told it incorrectly. He has told them, he has told others that they are liars, that they are cheaters, that they are greedy, etc., and all these stereotypes that are untrue. And so Hitler has stolen their story and has told Germany their story, which has caused all these issues in the first place. Liesel tells Max's story, and Death tells Liesel's story. So, in the end, it kind of brings up a lot of questions. Who is this book really about? Is it about Max? Is it about Liesel because she's the central character, the one we see the most? Is it about, is it Death's? And there should be an apostrophe there, I'm sorry. Is it Death's story? Whose story, even though he's telling us another story, is this story really about Death? It also brings up the question, who controls the story? We only get a little bit of Max's story outside of Liesel's. So Liesel is kind of the gatekeeper. She can make Max seem really great or really awful. Likewise, Death is telling both their stories, so he controls what details the reader gets. So it brings up a big question, who controls the story? Which brings up another question, who controls your story? And it's very easy to say, well, I control my story. I'm in charge of my own life, blah, blah, blah. But when you think about it, that's not really true. Think about your parents posting an embarrassing picture of you on Facebook. You don't have control over that. They're telling your story and you can't control that. Think about your friends or your enemies gossiping about you and telling stories about you. Some of them true, some of them not. You don't control that story, unfortunately. And there are a number of instances, social media, in school, etc., where your story is told by other people. So that's a big question in this story. How much control do we have over our stories? And what kind of consequences does that lead us to? All right. And then finally, I've mentioned this before, but dualities, which is a fancy way of saying both one way and another. Something can be both good and bad at the same time. Something can be both black and white. So here are some dualities I want you to think about here. First, the idea that Death is both good and bad. Frau welcomes Death. Her sons have both killed. She is saying, what took you so long? And then there's also Hans, who welcomes Death, but is also so sad for the people he left behind. So there's Liesel mourning all the people who have died. So Death is both a good thing to some and a bad thing to others. There is this idea that words are both good and bad. Hitler uses words to effectively start a Holocaust, to kill massive amounts of people. But words are also the thing that keep people hopeful, that keep people willing to stand up for others. And so in this story, words are both good and bad. And characters are both good and bad. And we've talked about this before with Liesl. She is a good person in many ways. We like her, but in many ways, she's not a good person. She beats people up. She hurts people. She steals stuff. So definitely, there's this idea of dualities: good and bad. Words are good and bad. Characters are good and bad. Okay. Final thoughts. First of all, thank you so much for your hard work. I continue to be impressed with the level of analysis you guys are giving me, and I'm proud of what you've been doing. I don't feel as though this has been a waste of your time. Second, these videos take a little bit of time to make, and I want to thank you to, I think it's up to 10 people now who are watching them. I hope they helped. I hope they were able to increase your knowledge of how literature works. And I'm glad that you were able to get what you needed out of them. So please let me know if you have any questions. Finish your reading log and then go outside and enjoy the day. It's your final work. Have a good one.